A very good evening to you, and thank you for tuning into Brand Plus TV. It's always a delight knowing that you have taken your time and have decided to keep us company. I am Ondiro Ganga, ready to bring you up to speed with all the top stories making headlines. And as you know, we're all about business. Here's a glance of some of those stories.
Over the last 3 days, thousands of delegates from 170 countries, including 2,000...
Curtains fall on the Sustainable Blue Economy Conference. It's thank you and goodbye. Deliver for Good Kenya launch towards the SDGs.
We're grateful for the opportunity to host this summit in Kenya.
5th Kenya Private Schools Association Expo 2018. Is our education system aligned to the future? Thank you for staying with us. Now on to our top story. The first ever conference on the Sustainable Blue Economy came to a close today. The event saw global leaders pitch tent in Kenya for 3 days, deliberating on how to sustainably develop and harness the full potential of oceans in the attainment of economic development. Our reporter Daisy Wambua was present and filed the following report.
While delivering his closing remarks, the President, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, outlined the need to expand economies through exploitation of oceans.
First, we have all committed to harness the full potential of our oceans, our seas, lakes and rivers, to expand opportunities for all, create greater prosperity for countries, and to fight poverty. We have identified strategies to expand our economies, create shared prosperity, and increase revenue and job opportunities through ocean-based industries.
He went on to acknowledge that with the most leaders having committed to the sustainable blue economy, he sees the need to strengthen political leadership and come up with policies that will help build capacity and achieve the desired outcomes.
We've also agreed to strengthen political leadership and international cooperation, and have committed to work collaboratively on data analysis, information, and intelligence sharing to curb the illegal, unregulated, and unreported threat, as well as other threats to our marine resources. The availability of reliable, up-to-date, accessible data and information is essential as a basis for integrated and sustainable management of ocean and coastal resources. And I expect that as a result of this conference, this will emerge as an area of strong international cooperation. The transboundary nature of the oceans and the fact that 2/3 of global waters lie beyond national jurisdiction requires us to put in place appropriate international mechanisms for negotiation and collaboration to ensure its sustainable management. And I am pleased to note that we have also agreed to build capacity in the poorer countries to more effectively patrol the seas and oceans and to access scientific and technology resources to strengthen overall maritime capabilities, including surveillance and stock-taking.
Ambassador Peter Thompson, the UN Special Envoy for Oceans, noted that from the conference, Africa has become part of the global blue economy and hinted at the possibility of a second ocean conference in 2020.
From this conference onwards, Africa is a central part of the global conversation on the need for ocean action. We no longer talk about the blue economy without putting the word sustainable in front of it. That we've understood through what we've discussed here at this conference. And Mr. President, as you well know, 4 of the 10 targets of SDG 14 mature in 2020. That is why your government and the government of Portugal offered to host a second UN Ocean Conference in 2020 to assess our progress in implementing SDG 14.
Cabinet Secretary of Foreign Affairs Ambassador Monica Juma urged the attendees to take note of the Nairobi Statement of the intent on advancing global sustainable blue economy while implementing the policies that were discussed.
Key political messages out of this conference. We can only hope that it will serve as a basis and reference point not only for the work of this conference, but also for future engagements, discourse, and activities related to the blue economy.
As the curtains fall on the Sustainable Blue Economy Conference, one thing remains clear. Growth of economies through responsible exploitation of marine resources is possible with the full and effective involvement and participation of all relevant players. For Bram Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
An advocacy campaign dubbed Deliver for Good was launched today in Kenya by the civil society, government and international partners. The launch kickstarts a new effort to fuel lasting change for Kenyan girls and women and drive progress in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, this comes in the wake of the 2/3 gender bill in the hands of the parliament. Our reporter Karari John has more on this story.
Following the global launch of Deliver for Good campaign in 2016, Kenya was identified as the first focus country for dedicated advocacy and communication efforts to build upon existing Kenyan activities. The launch of the campaign in the country today brought together diverse stakeholders to accelerate national effort to achieve gender equality. This comes at a time when Parliament has deferred the 2/3 gender bill debate to a later date.
Deliver for her.
Speaking at the event, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Health, Cecily Kariuki, started by praising Kenya for the efforts and achievement with regards to involving women in decision-making.
Where we are today with the launch of this campaign raises very high expectations for dedicated advocacy work aimed at facilitating greater collaboration between us in government, the non-governmental sector, the private sector, our partners in the UN, and young people to ensure girls and women are prioritized in the national implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals and other development plans. And I don't think we are struggling in Kenya. I think we are taking that as a position from where I sit, that women have to be at the center of decision-making. Hopefully before I die.
She went ahead to call upon women leaders to be the voice of all voiceless women.
I think we have come to a place where female leaders who are privileged to be holding the positions that we hold need to be voice for those that are voiceless. Through policy, through legislation, through programmatic intervention, but through speaking openly as I do. Then we are able to carry and build a critical mass of women, but also our brothers. And that is why, again, sitting here with my colleague, the CS for Labor, I think it's not a women affair. It is a Kenyan leadership affair.
To our next...
A Deliver for Good campaign influencer, Her Royal Highness Crown Prince Mary of Denmark highlighted the goals and mission of the campaign and what empowering women will mean for the world.
And throughout this journey, the strong pulse of this global campaign, its mission to change the games for girls and women, who are the world's greatest untapped resource, has been intense and extremely convincing. Why? Well, the answer is simple, because changing the game for girls and women really means changing the game for everyone, for the benefit of us all, and for good. And because strong and ever-growing banks of evidence back this clear message, that it's not only the right thing to do, it also pays for families, communities, and for countries to invest and prioritise women and girls. If we were to fully close the gender gap in workplaces, we would add up to $28 trillion in annual GDP by 2025. That is just one number and there's many more of those, that clearly backs this message.
She went on to call for collaborative effort to help achieve the set goals and deliver a free environment for women.
So I urge everyone to think today and tomorrow and the next day. What can I do? How can I be the change I wish to see? How can I join hands with my neighbour or the unknown person sitting next to me in the joint effort to achieve meaningful change for girls and women to the benefit of us all? Together, let's deliver for her, deliver for all, and deliver for good. Thank you.
And they're getting into whatever spaces they...
Currently, more than 400 organizations globally have joined in the campaign, building a movement to catalyze action for girls and women. Ulla Tunis, Minister for Development Cooperation of Denmark, expressed her hope for more progress in achieving gender equality.
As Deliver for Good takes off here in our proud and beautiful country, it has the potential to become a paramount catalyst for more progress, building on what has already been achieved. I often tell people that I'm a staunch champion for gender equality because it's the right thing to do and because it's the wise thing to do. That is a right, that it is a right, and that it makes economic sense. And this is indeed the crux of the powerful messages of Deliver for Good. The stakes are high, but allow a woman to spread her wings and the whole world will fly.
We build that agency for them to be able to...
While Assistant Deputy Minister, International Affairs Branch, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Isabelle Bernard, assured everyone of Canada's support for the campaign since it's economically correct.
Canada supports the Deliver for Good campaign since 2016. We believe that empowering women and girls can change the world. Today, we are proud to witness and join the launch of this important campaign in Kenya. The Deliver for Good campaign is a critical opportunity to drive action on women and girls. It also generates enthusiasm and commitment to advance the SDGs and to accelerate efforts to achieve gender equality. In Kenya, as in many other countries, there's still a lot of work to do. The World Bank says that countries lose $160 trillion in wealth due to earning gaps between women and men that result from gender equality. 160 trillion. I would like you to reflect on that.
So census with a gender lens.
Women and girls are an integral part of our society, and it is the responsibility of every stakeholder to play their active role in uplifting them, for it's not only a great socio-economic impact, but it is the right thing to do. Reporting for Brand Plus TV, I am Korari John, Wambugu.
On to matters education now. Education Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohammed has today said that education must be centered on the current and future needs of this country. This was while officially opening the 5th Kenya Private Schools Association Expo at Sitam, Woodley. Take a look. The timely expo was organized by Global Education Supplies and Solutions together with Kenya Private Schools Association, having Education Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohammed as the chief guest. Speaking during the event, Education Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohammed said cognizant to the changing times due to emerging technology, there needs to be a paradigm shift in the education sector.
As we advance through the digital age, it's our duty to ensure that the future is open to our children. More importantly, we must ensure that the skills are relevant and useful for the demands of the 21st century.
She is an expert. She has authored books on...
The CS further stated that while at it is important to center education on learners and the tutors.
To secure the future of our children, therefore, the starting point is ensuring that the learner and the teacher remain at the center of our focus.
I will just do a quick...
However, the question is, how do we do that?
On the one hand, therefore, teacher training and professional development to support quality is a critical component of learning delivery. This event provides a platform for dialogue between the local academic and regional educational practitioners and their counterparts from the global education community. This partnership will advance training, hopefully for quality education.
They're not connected, they just have...
CS Ambassador Amina equally acknowledged that the education sector is not short of challenges, key among them being funding.
Aid in education has been on a steady decline, from 10% in 2009, ladies and gentlemen, to 6.9% in 2015. The education financing gap has increased from 16 billion to 26 billion. According to the World Bank, the share of education expenditure borne by households is at 18% for high income, 25% for middle income, and 33% in low income countries. That's actually unacceptable. It should be the other way around.
As a turnaround, she said there are no two ways about this, and the ministry is working on ways to raise funds for the sector.
Meaningful and sustainable solutions in education will therefore neither be influenced by aid nor by increased public expenditure, but by impact investment. This approach will mobilize new funding, attract investors in the education sector, and provide necessary competition to improve regulation, to improve quality and delivery by institutions. Although this is a concept that is yet to be fully considered, this summit provides an opening to engage and to advance a thorough interrogation of the ways in which impact investing can change the education landscape. The aim should be to provide millions of out-of-school children and youth with opportunities to access high-quality training and mentorship.
To finish off the story.
Though the sector has seen its fair share of losses, it has equally had its fair share of wins, one of them being the establishment of SIMASTEA, which has put Kenya on the world map in the field of STEM.
In appreciation of the demands of the future of learning and the digital age, Kenya established the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education on our continent in Africa, SIMASTEA. The mandate of the center is the continuous teacher professional development in mathematics and science education in our country and across our region. The center's mission is to transform teaching by continuously developing competences for effective curriculum delivery and improved quality of education. Our focus is to establish a teacher professional development framework with a national and continental reach. We also aim at ensuring broad stakeholder participation for best knowledge provision model in science, in mathematics, in technology, and in engineering. This focus has consolidated our status as the coordinator of the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, CESA, STEM cluster. The Association for Development of Education in Africa, ADEA, the inter-country quality node on mathematics and science education, and SMAS Africa as the secretariat of a network of 27 African countries, and UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa as the training destination on STEM education programs.
Unless you are not in charge of your school.
With the recently released KCPE results, parents and students alike are looking forward to Form 1 admissions come next year. The question remains, will the system play into the strengths of future leaders or reduce them to studying for exams? The 11th East African Procurement Forum is being held in Nairobi with an aim of strengthening integrity and accountability in public procurement. The three-day forum, which kicked off today, has brought together delegates from Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya. Our reporter Karari John tells us more.
Public procurement in Kenya is governed by Article 227 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the Public Procurement and Disposal Act 2005, and its attendant regulation and instruction issued by the Public Procurement Oversight Authority, PPOA.
Public procurement involves...
Today, Kenya hosted for the third time the East Africa Procurement Forum on its 11th session, having previously hosted in 2009 and 2014. The conference, which is themed Strengthening Integrity and Accountability in Public Procurement, brought together EAC member states.
Thereafter, invite.
The conference was officially opened by the Chief Administrative Secretary on behalf of CS National Treasury and Planning, CAS, Nelson Gaishuhie, started by breaking down the role of public procurement.
Ladies and gentlemen, public procurement is a key driver in the economy, as governments are the largest consumers of goods, works and services. According to Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, estimates the impact of public procurement stands at an average of between 10 and 15% of the gross domestic product. Thus, the strategic role of public procurement in the delivery of national development goals and that facilitates the private sector to thrive as well as enhance the quality of services to the public is very critical.
The CAS went on to highlight the consequences of a procurement system that is not effectively guarded.
Given the magnitude of public procurement in economy, it is one of the areas highly prone to corruption practices and fraud, which if not effectively guarded, could lead to mismanagement of scarce resources, loss of value for money, high cost of doing business with the government, inflated tender prices, lack of accountability, competition, transparency, and fairness in procurement process. The end result is poor services to the public and depressed economic growth.
On matters regional integration, Nelson Gaishuhie was empathetic that countries cannot work in isolation.
Towards achieving the principles of public procurement that include transparency, accountability, competitiveness, efficiency, effectiveness and predictability, integrity and corruption control, value for money, professionalism and fairness. Countries cannot achieve these principles in isolation, but through dialogue, cooperation and mutual collaboration with each other. To this end, we commend the public procurement regulatory institutions within the East African partner states who conceptualized this forum.
Chairperson, Public Procurement Administrative Review Board, on their part, shed some light on the role of the review board.
Since the year 2000, Kenya's bid protest mechanism has progressively grown to maturity. The Public Procurement Administrative Review Board was then at its formative stages, known as the Procurement Appeals Board, which operated as a unit within the Ministry of Finance. It has now grown to be established as a central independent appeals review board, whose chairperson is equivalent to a judge of the High Court. The review board has played a key role to promote and uphold fairness, transparency, accountability, and confidence in the public procurement and asset disposal system through judicious and impartial adjudication of matters arising from disputed procurement and asset disposal proceedings.
While his counterpart, Chairperson, Public Procurement Administrative Regulatory Board, Andrew Musangi, challenged those in attendance to invest in linking up all systems in government with the e-procurement to enhance transparency.
Is e-procurement alone, standing within the procurement bodies, enough? Should we not consider every electronic system in government linking to the next one? For example, should we not be tied in with company registration being electronic so that we know whether we're dealing with ghost companies? Should we not be inextricably linked with our respective revenue authorities? should our payment portals not be linked with our tax systems? And should they not also be equally electronic, whether it is a county in one corner of the country paying a supplier who then is linked with the tax system, which is centralized? This transparency, in my humble submission, is what will enhance accountability.
The president has on occasion declared a wage war on corruption before his term comes to an end.
That we shall have won the war on corruption.
However, this fight cannot be won by an individual, and such requires a multi-pronged approach, and increasing transparency in procurement is a step in the right direction. Reporting for Bramplus TV, I am Corey John Wambugu.
Well, on that transparency note, let us head for a short commercial break, but do stay with us as we still have so much more lined up for you on the other side, including some matters business risk. See you shortly. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is Business News. Now on to matters actuary. The Actuarial Society of Kenya today kicked off its 2018 convention at the Movenpick Hotel in Nairobi, themed Back to the Future from Best Practice to Innovation. Speakers at the conference urged actuaries to find ways of adapting to new technological changes. Take a look.
It is aiming to achieve universal health care, I think, in the next few years.
While delivering the speech on behalf of his CEO, Robert Kulobal, Chief Manager, Policy Research and Development, Insurance Regulatory Authority, noted that actuaries are living in an era of emerging technologies which are greatly shaping the career.
As we showcase this uniqueness, we be alive to the fact that we are living in a fast-changing world characterized by emerging and mutating risks. Further, there have been a number of developments taking place within our operating environment. These developments have been and continue to be shaped by changes in regulatory frameworks, professional standards, deepening analytics, and demand for increased information disclosure, and more importantly, rapid changes in technology, which I think you've ably mapped to the theme of this convention. Emerging technological innovations in the financial value chain is confronting the financial industry with new questions. Consumer needs have evolved, distribution channels have digitized, the Internet of Things is affecting how risk is undertaken and predicted, and peer-to-peer technology is said to affect quite a number of fundamental areas that affect the work of an actuary. This therefore presents unique opportunities, hence the need to relook for more creative ways to tackle them.
Simba Chinyamba, Chief Actuary and Chief Risk Officer, Zenith Insurance, pointed out that among the disadvantages that the emerging technologies will bring to the actuarial field is loss of jobs.
We should think seriously about how machine learning and artificial intelligence is encroaching on what we have always believed to be our traditional space. I think the biggest effect that anyone would be worried about would be loss of jobs, right? If a machine is now doing something I was doing, will I have a job? But on the other hand, the reason that those things are coming is because stakeholders feel that they do a better job. So there's also a positive effect. And the positive effect is that companies will be more efficient and perhaps more profitable, and consumers will get services provided to them faster and better.
Less
you actually see that we get.
However, just like every coin has two sides, technology does not only spell doom. On the flip side, Lorraine Mukami, an actuary, highlighted that the emerging technologies will also create a lot of new jobs.
We should be looking into artificial intelligence as a new way of doing things and machine learning, and not looking at it as something our IT department should be doing. We should engage and be in that space. The other side of not losing jobs is gaining jobs, because with every technological advancement there have been some jobs that have been made, there's some jobs that have been created, like for instance data scientist, machine learning expert. Those are new jobs that have been created that were not in this space before, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like, we don't just have to be actuaries, we can move forward and create new job descriptions for ourselves as machine learning actuaries or data scientists. That's the other side of the losing jobs coin.
What your plans are.
According to a report released by McKinsey Global Institute last year, in the near future, about 800 million jobs will be lost to automation. Question is, are the risk assessors themselves making calculated moves into the future?
Now you see, even when there's lots of data, the actual...
The Sustainable Blue Economy Conference was a Kenyan idea, and it had to be executed in its place of birth, a move that saw the country host the world's first conference focusing on how countries can embrace the full potential of the oceans and marine waters to achieve economic development. Our reporter Daisy Wambua caught up with Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Macharia Kamau on the sidelines of the conference and sought to get a deeper understanding of it all. Take a look.
First things first, why did Kenya see the need to host the conference, and yet we are not major players in the blue economy?
This has been a project that's taken almost a complete year to put together. It's been a phenomenal journey. It has involved partners from all over the world, and it has taken the incredible engagement of very many Kenyans who are passionate about these issues, people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kenya, who've worked with us very, very closely to make all this work.
He went ahead to highlight some of the reasons that have seen the country lag behind in exploiting its water bodies.
Some of it has to do with just the fact that we are a young nation. Just like a young person does not fully exploit their possibilities, young nations yet have to learn how to exploit their full possibilities. We are trying to do that. It also has to do with the fact that maybe we just didn't recognize the value of the oceans and of the rivers and the lakes that we have, and now we are beginning to open our eyes up to this value, and we are trying to do something about it.
With the country hosting such a global event, it not only shines a spotlight on it, but also ignites hope among the citizens that the tide will turn on matters blue economy. Towards this end, he highlighted what the government was doing to translate this into real-life value for its people.
We're expecting that, there's going to be a general outpouring of energy and of interest in the area of the blue economy. We're expecting that there's going to be a huge upsurge of action in the world, because what we have tried to put together here is commitments that each country is doing for themselves, so that each country puts in place its own commitments and goes back home and works on those commitments. That's what we are aspiring for.
Being the first and conference of its kind in the world, he outlined the greatest benefit for the country in hosting it.
For the average Kenyan, the message is that first, we must really understand the value of conferencing. That we must not be cynical about conferences, because not only they bring great business, not only do they fill our hotels and create business for our taxis, our planes, and so on, but more importantly, they allow us to showcase ideas that are Kenyan and to work with other people around the world who want to showcase their ideas with us, so that we can use those ideas to improve our lives.
Reporting for Brand Plus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
Well, on that blue economy note, let us now take a look at how the markets performed today. Here is a summary. That is just a summary of how the markets performed, but for more in-depth analysis of the same, tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for my next big bet with Rachel Nderitu and Karanja Daniel. Let's now take a look at the weather report. Well, that was it from the Business News Desk tonight. On behalf of everyone that made it a success, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow, same place, but at 9 p.m. Have a good night. I am Ondiro Ganga, and I'm in business. Case closed.